Guns and Yoga podcast. My name is Wendy Hummel. You may have noticed that we've been MIA for a few months, but we are back. I'd like to begin by thanking you all for listening to the podcast. It's been over 2 years since we launched, and we have close to 70 episodes. At a time where there is so much information available to us, I know that your time is sacred, and it means a lot to me that you take the time to listen to this show. I'm really happy to finally be back with you. There's been a lot going on for me and my family, and full disclosure, it stressed me out that we hadn't released anything in a while, but I just didn't have the capacity. The last few months have been hard. My time is a precious commodity, and it felt like it was getting away from me. Life is really good, and I'm extremely grateful for the work that I get to do and for my family, but I was burning out pretty quickly. And the time I'd normally spend doing the podcast, working on the podcast, interviewing guests, putting things together just was non-existent. I've come to realize that I have lived most of my life in a chronic state of busyness, which has led to my state of dysregulation, and it's just really not sustainable anymore. I really started to figure this all out many years ago, and I have really been working towards having less on my plate. But I had found myself kind of right back in a familiar territory, right back in the same situation. I talk about this topic to others a lot for a reason, because I struggle with it so much. Another thing that impacted the podcast was that my husband, Carl, got neck surgery about 6 weeks ago. He is a big part of this podcast and is responsible for everything that happens behind the scenes, and I mean everything. Without him, there is no podcast. He is slowly recovering, and he's ready to get back at it. I really love doing this show, and I still get really jazzed and excited about putting out content, sharing resources, and interviewing guests with the intention of supporting all first responders and their families. I could definitely do this full time, but since I can't right now, I'm going to do the best that I can with the time that I do have. I care deeply about these important conversations for our first responder community, taking care of ourselves, our families, and each other. If you started to watch the video version of this podcast, you're going to notice a slight format change. We are reverting back to audio only for simplicity purposes. This is so that we can get out episodes quicker, and the back end part of the video is extremely time consuming. Someday we may get back to it, but for now, this is what works best. So I have been practicing what I preach, taking care of myself and my family, but we are back. And I want to take this opportunity again to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. Stay tuned for great guests and content. If you have suggestions or questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and email me at wendy@bluelineyoga.com. I would also appreciate you telling somebody about this show. Maybe sharing one of your favorite episodes. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and get notified right away when a new episode is released, and give us a review. And remember, we are better together.